here's why. Here's this big deal that I'm really trying to get to. Here's why. Your greatest gifts and your deepest pains live side by side in your soul territory. You gotta go there. They're the seeds below the earth. Why do your greatest gifts and your deepest pains have to live the same place? That's just what we were given. That's how we were planted, so to speak. That's actually the important part, is that in order for you to bring up something to give and to offer and have a relationship with, you've got to know what's down deep inside you. Don't forget, you have such beauty, such gifts, such whatever. Go down there, find it, bring it up, and give it to the world. And I can't say that enough. It's how you know what to give to the world is what hurts you, really, because there's a relationship between them. Come back to ourselves, really. So, what I really want us to focus on at the beginning here is just coming to ourselves, grounded, coming right here, arriving where we're at. So, just take a breath and breathe deeply in and then let it out. Notice where your feet are, notice where your body is. Just come to yourself here. And that's where we're going to have our invoking discussion from, is from us being right here, being with each other. So that's where we'll start from. So we're going to end up talking about grief and gratitude in this conversation real quick here. I'm going to introduce some concepts. And what I do is I'm going to use some nature-based metaphors to really, in essence, help describe and give us words to help understand what grief and gratitude are for in our lives. So that's really what we're going to accomplish here real quick. My name's Michael. I work here at Wild Rice Retreat as the maintenance and groundskeeper, but I also, this is my passion, is helping people learn. I'm an educator from way back, 40 years of working with people, bridging what I call bridging nature and culture, bridging people and nature together. Uh, Part of what I do is also I'm a medicine carrier in a shamanic lineage. It's called Pachacuti Mesa medicine tradition, and what that means is that I've been given teachings. I've been given uh, teachings about certain medicines, and my task is to pass those along, to give that. So that's part of what me learning has done, is offered me that grounding space so that I can then share that. So that's where this is mainly coming from, is that place where I've been taught, and then it's my turn to pass it on. So we're gonna talk about, again, grief, gratitude, but where they fit in, what's their purpose, what do they serve in our lives? So that's where we're going to really get to. And what I actually want to do is I want to find out what are our terms? Let's define these things. We're talking about grief, we're talking about gratitude. A lot of us have we think we know what that is, but is it what everybody else thinks they know what that is? So I just want to kind of get a feeling of what it is that you define those terms as. Let's start with grief. What's grief to you? All right, what's gratitude then? So the grief and gratitude, to me, are part of what we as human beings are asked to carry, are asked to feel, to be. And I'm gonna do this and put my arms out a couple different times, but if you think about it, this is the range, the full range. These two things are on the poles of our human emotional states. I mean, I don't know, I can't really think of anything, dare I say, harder to deal with than like the deepest grief. That it's like, that's hard, that's painful, it's tough, it's up on a pole of what I would, if you ask me, what's the worst thing in the world? Grief. What's the greatest thing? Gratitude. And so that's on the other side. And so we're gonna talk about that. But I mean, I'll speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure that you're you're probably along the same lines too. But I don't wake up in one mood and go to bed in that same mood. It flows, and so there's a reason for that. There's a reason why us human beings have emotional states. Emotions are basically signs that tell us what's going on, what we're feeling, what we care about, what. And so both of these things, what I'm going to offer is both of these things. There's a, a portal right here, your heart, that talks to with these things, with grief, with gratitude, and everything in between. But what I'm going to offer is that this heart is a middle place, this balancing point, this place where you, I don't know, I the best way I say it is this is like your connection point with those things. So if you didn't care for it, you wouldn't grieve for it, right? I mean, that's pretty simple to say, but when you really think about it, why would you be grieving something? Because you cared about it. Most likely you cared about it and it changed in some way, or it didn't meet your expectations, or it didn't come to fruition, or something. But the whole point is your heart had a relationship with it. It cared about something. Gratitude, same thing. People talk about heartfelt gratitude. Well, sure, it's coming from your heart. It's felt here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer one of our first metaphors we're going to be talking about is a tree. And so we're gonna liken the tree to our emotional system, our basically why we have our emotional states is going to be, I'm going to overlay the tree metaphor along with that, and we're going to get to know that, in a few different ways. So one of those ways is that if you think about, let's just even poke out there with your eyes and go, all right, well, there's a tree out there. Just take a gander, look at the tree, see what that tree is to you, and when you look, you're going to see that you see trunk, you see branches. At this time, there's no leaves, but you're assuming that there's going to be leaves on those trees. Most of the time, though, we're not like, oh, look at that. Those roots must be really awesome on that tree. And if we do, then we're imagining it because we can't see them. So, but what we do know is that there is roots. There's got to be, because without roots, that tree wouldn't be alive. And so the idea is that there's some of that tree is not where we see it, it's below the ground. So it's going to be something we usually pay attention to the things we see, but then our awareness, if it's working right, comes to the things we don't see if we really pay attention. And so here's what I'm going to offer with paying attention to a tree. You see it out there, you see the trunk, you see the branches, and you assume, awesome, there's something going on up there. But you forget about the roots. So we're gonna pay attention to those roots. The roots have a purpose, and that purpose is to bring water up, bring water from the ground, bring stuff up, and send it upwards. Those xylem cells, up, 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 up. And so when there's leaves on those trees, those leaves are, and the branches are reaching out to the sky. And what are they doing? They're talking to the sunshine. They're like, oh yes, I gotta have that. That's important. And so really what the how a tree lives is it brings water up, goes all the way up through those xylem cells, and then it goes to the leaves, and then it goes into the air basically. And really what happens is that photosynthesis magic, the sun, leaves and water, and then all of a sudden that sunlight comes and creates nutrients, sugars in those leaves, and then sends that back down into the phloem cells, down the trunk and the branches of the tree. And so really what I'm getting at is, how is the tree living? It's going, moving things up, talking to the sunshine, getting really cool stuff from that relationship, and then sending it back down through the rest of the tree. So that's what we want to pay attention to. We do that very same thing. Think about your emotions. Think about feeling them. And a lot of times they move. And that's the energy in motion is what they call emotions. It's movement. And it's based off of what you are seeing in the world, what's happening to you in the world. So all of a sudden you're angry. Well, that's gonna like tighten you up or whatever, and it's gonna constrict you. If you're feeling grief, people, and I talked about the heart being the portal. People feel grief, and where do you feel it? You feel it down. You feel it down in your stomach. It's just this tightness. And so there's a reason for that. And let me talk to you a little bit about that metaphor of being the tree. That downward below your heart, your chakra system is this energy system in your body that's up above your heart and below. So you've got, according to the Ayurvedic practices, you've got 7 chakras, 3 below the heart, 3 above. Heart being in the middle. So grief, like I cared about something, it changed, or it's not working right, or people don't get it, or whatever, then that's going to start moving downward. And grief is a very inward thing, and it's a downward, and it's really going to travel down into your lower chakras. And so my point is this: grief grounds you. Okay, so goes into your roots. Grief works on your lower system and starts what I call asking some soul questions. What's a soul question? How do I survive now? So that's a big soul question that grief asks you. You're not usually asking that if you're not in grief. You're not usually asking, what do I do now? How do I survive? What is it that I can do with this? That's a grief. That's a soul question. So the soul questions go down to your lower chakra system. Your root chakra is your lowest chakra. Well, yeah, roots on a tree. And so that's what I call is your soul realm, is those lower chakras. Those are very important to ask you your very personalized questions. What do you really care about? And why? What do you really care about? That's carried down in your lower chakras. So grief, the point of grief, cared about something, it changed, and then I got to ask some questions about it. What do I do now that it's changed? How do I move on from here? Where do I put this? This is stuff that we all do when we're in that grief, questioning things. But that's your roots. You gotta go get the water. You gotta go get down. You gotta move down. And then so what's gonna happen is you're gonna work with that. It's gonna start asking those things, and you're gonna bring it up. And then what will happen is when we talk about gratitude, so the other pole, gratitude. Well, same thing, but upwards. Gratitude is an expansion. Gratitude is heartfelt expansion. It's bigger than you. You're going to go to something that's larger than yourself. It's sunshine. It's reaching. It's leaves and fruit. It's way up there. So gratitude is an upwards. So that movement upwards. Once you figure out, maybe you answer one of those questions, or you whatever, you get to that place where you're like, ooh, all right, oh, this is bigger than me. And so joy came up, beauty. Ooh, that's big stuff. You can't see beauty a lot of times. We're not looking for beauty if we're in grief. It's like, yeah, well, whatever. It's beautiful, wonderful, you know. So, but you can't get there until you bring something up and it gets bigger than yourself. Then you can see it, and that's what I really want to talk about or remind you with that tree metaphor. Be a tree. Move that stuff up and down. That's what it's supposed to do, is up and down. It's not supposed to stay in a certain place. And you know, even though grief is a heaviness and goes down, it's not supposed to stay down there. Water needs to come up and move up the cellular structure of that tree to go into the leaves and manage that photosynthesis that's gonna bring the nutrients down to the rest. How's that making sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to come back to that metaphor in a couple minutes, and we're going to dig in a little deeper. But I'm going to add another one to our mix here. And you already saw me put my hands out, you know, our poles, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've seen an eagle flying, soaring in the sky. You can see them out here. Sometimes we can see them flying around over us. Have you ever seen it flying with one wing out and then the other not?
No, not really.
No. You ever seen it flying with like a half a wing out and then another? I mean, I'm like,
Only one has tried it.
yeah.
He wasn't quite right. Yeah.
And this is my point. In order for an eagle to like soar, for it to even just fly, a bird, but I like eagles. Eagles. So in order for it to fly, it's got to have both wings, right? Both wings. What did I show you? Is you got to have both poles. You have both wings. And so really my bottom line is soar like an eagle. And what I mean by that is understand that there's grief that you got to feel, and there's gratitude that you got to give. And you got to do both of those in your life. And the challenge is that they both have a purpose. You know, if you think about it, doesn't just kind of like hang out here. It turns left, it turns right. And what I tell people is every single feather on that wing. I mean, if you took the primary feather, which gosh, and all huge like this, and you plucked it from this side, and then you tried to put it over here, you know, oh my gosh, no way, it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't be right because that's meant for here, and every other feather on that wing has a purpose. And so that's one of the things that I say is that you got to soar like an eagle. And this is that answer. Really, this metaphor is the answer to what about all that positive thinking that I'm supposed to be doing? What about, you know, I mean, don't feel grief too much because there's smile and it'll go away, or fake it till you make it, or whatever. Go have a good time and forget, you know, whatever that is just trying to say, the whole point of that is trying to say, fly with one wing. Fly with one wing. Fake it. Eagles don't fake it. They've got them both out there. So there's a point of you got to grieve and you got to be grateful. So you have to have both of those. And gosh, I'll offer you two magic words that's going to like help me. It's like put these on your glasses. So both and. So if you had glasses that you were wearing and you're like, oh, here's my both and glasses. I'm going to take off my either or glasses, and then put my both and glasses on. Then what you start to see is that things can be both hard, you can grieve, and you can be grateful at the same time. It's because your heart is in that middle and you've got two wings out. So that's this other metaphor is just understanding that eagles don't fly with one wing. And you have to put both of yours out there if you really want to soar. And that's sometimes it's really tough being way out here. The other times you're moving that, you're upwelling with gratitude, you're spreading it out, talking to sunshine, being the leaves, being in the leaves, being up. So there's two things that I'm sure you've started to hear. Up is good or joyous. Down is soulful. And understanding that archetypally, we bring this in and we feel this. This is part of our belief systems. Heaven, earth. Okay? Heaven up. God is up there. Heaven is always in the clouds. Earth world being Mother Nature, Mother Earth. So here's what I'm going to do. Kind of bridge that up and down here. Come back to our tree metaphor. I'm going to overlay something very important, an archetypal concept. That when we're grateful, we're bringing stuff up. It's a bigger than you relationship. It's talking to, like I call it, the sunshine. Well, this literally in other cultures, the sun represents the deity, divinity, God, if you will. Sun up there. Down is earth, Mother Earth, groundedness, our lower chakra system. So I'm going to throw out a concept here. Latin words, axis mundi, literally means world axis. A tree is an axis mundi symbol. A lot of cultures cross-reference different cultures, and you'll find trees represent that bridge between the upper and the lower, heaven and earth. And so an axis mundi is that link, that up and down link. Actually, even a lot of indigenous cultures, grandfather sky and Mother Earth, or father sky, Mother Earth, grandmother Earth, whatever. And that's sacred masculine, sacred feminine. Your concept of Shiva and Shakti, your concept of Yang and Yin, all together, up, down. So what I'm really trying to overlay here, and I'll again overlay some more, but just the idea that being you is tapping into these concepts, feeling the feelings you feel, soaring like an eagle, being a tree. You're tapping into big concepts that we all have in our belief systems, in our whatever, surrounded by us, that you've got to have the up and the down. And to make it even cooler is we are the link to that. And this is our center. So where those things come together, that lower and the upper, come together right in your heart, right in your center. And that's what I offer with the eagle. The eagle's the middle. The body is your heart. Wings are how you feel. And so having that as a way to explain your feelings are valid. What you grieve tells you what you care about. And then what you do with that on the gratitude side is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to reach out with that. Bridge heaven and earth. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
What are we going to do? I'm going to add another metaphor, and then we're going to probably come back to, always come back to the tree. I love trees. So I always come back to the tree metaphor. I'm going to overlay some more with that. But the last metaphor is in answer to what I think brought you here, particularly here at this moment, is what do you do about, I mean, that's all fine to like, oh yeah, let's be eagles and trees, but what do you do with all of our wars, climate change, political unrest? I mean, you name it. Just throw a stone and you'll hit something that we all care about on a collective level. That's heavy. That's on our shoulders. That's hurting. That's tough. We're all like, and it's not even, we can't even carry it. How do you explain, I can't carry that, but I'm asked to. That's hard to, we can't. So I'm going to give another metaphor, but what I'm really after is this idea that, well, and let's just put it this way. We are here, okay? We're the ones that are here. It's not somebody else. This isn't happening in another time, although stuff like this did happen. But we're the ones born at this time, and here we are. That's what we thought. We came grounded. Here I am. I've arrived right here. And as I arrive, what's happening? I'm actually carrying a lot of what I call global grief. Large stuff, big time, that I'm personally carrying that with me wherever I go. And this is not something that, again, we can really do. So I'm going to offer two words to help explain this. Then I'm going to offer my metaphor. So one is simple words. You can look them up and do research on them. One, polycrisis. So there's a lot of talk about we're in a time of a polycrisis. Exactly what it says. Many crises. So that's the first word is, yes, indeed. We are faced on a global scale with crises everywhere. And a lot of that comes from our shift from the personal, what I'll call tribal or small cultural, small pocket of culture stuff that we work with into a global stage. We can look on our computers and we can see pictures of things going on at that moment halfway across the world. And if we care about it, it affects us. It actually, we feel it just from our computer or our phone screen, seeing what's going on. So polycrisis is that idea that there's so many crises going on at this time. And once again, we're here. We're the ones born to hold it. And the other word is metacrisis. And that just means we can't hold it. Humanity is not meant to hold that all at the same time. So, yes, terrible things have happened to human beings over time. And they carry that. But for us to see all of this, most of the time it takes your concentration to deal with one of these crises. But if we're collectively in a polycrisis right now, that it's like crisis, 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 right? Everywhere I look, there's crises. And then our psyches are not meant to hold that. It's not really possible for us to do what we're doing right now. And we feel that. So those two words, polycrisis means many crises. Metacrisis means human beings don't have the capacity. And so we're in this metacrisis. We're trying to figure out what are the tools we can use to hold all of this, basically this global grief, that there's no way to fix, if that makes sense. There's nothing that we could respond to that would make us feel like it's fixed, it's done, which human psyche has over time learned how to manage crises. And then, I mean, our heart rate goes up, our stress level, and then we get it handled, and we come back down. We're like, I got to rest for 3 days. There's none of that anymore. It's not possible. So here's my metaphor for that, is the idea that, let me just say, monarch butterflies are beautiful. Monarch butterflies are my metaphor. I could talk about monarch butterflies forever. But with this, what I'm concentrating on is the fact that, let's just pick August. You see a monarch in August, right? And I don't know about you, but when I see a monarch, it's like, oh, the monarch is home now. It's like wherever it is, if I'm seeing it, this is its home. And so it's like, of course, at that time in August, I'm not like, oh, that's a wonderful thing that your real home is somewhere else or whatever. It's, no, you're right here. This is your home. And then the part of this metaphor is that that monarch, there's so much that had to go on to get that monarch home, or here. Let's just start saying here. And I call it the monarchness lineage. How much has come to put that monarch right here in front of me? And how much is that monarch carrying that in the future, or the potentiality of that monarch? And what's even cooler is that their migration, they're gonna go down to Mexico, right? Monarchs hang out in Mexico in this time of the year when it's really snowing. But that monarch is going to be the one that hangs out in Mexico, right? Because what is it, 3, sometimes 4 generations that it takes now to make that trip? And then to hang out in Mexico, and then more generations come back. But that one that I'm seeing in August doesn't go, you know what, heck with this. I'm not going to be hanging out in a tree in Mexico. Why should I carry on? Why should I do anything more? That's it. I'm throwing the towel in because it's not going to happen to me. No, they don't do that. Monarchs do monarchs. They do what they're born to do. If we think about the potentiality, think about even just if that one monarch stopped laying eggs, stopped mating and laying eggs, then what would carry on from that? It wouldn't be more caterpillars. Actually, it would be the end of a lot of potential, not just like that one. And then think about what came before them. All of that. Again, it's basically, you can mathematically put it into some kind of terms, but I think it's infinite. It's infinite backwards, and infinite amount of potentiality forward in that. And so here's my main thing. And this is where we're going to come back to the tree and the eagle a little bit is what do you how do you be a monarch? How do you be what the monarch is? What is the monarch? What's this? Sit it down. Like, what's your secret, monarch? What do you do to like not feel the weight of all that is happening around you? And I bet what it would say is you be who you are. And what I'm offering you is from the tree metaphor, move it. Understand grief, let's take grief first, that when it moves down into your roots, I mean, you plant a seed, right? Plant a seed. If you've ever watched a seed in a jar or something, and you water it, you wait, what happens first? Yes. That's the first thing that comes out. Like, oh, it's going down. What's wrong with you? Turn it around. No, there's a reason why it does that. And so when you're asked to grieve, you're asked some serious soul questions. What do you care about and why? And you're supposed to work with that. Here's why. Here's this big deal that I'm really trying to get to. Here's why. Your greatest gifts and your deepest pains live side by side in your soul territory. You've got to go there. They're the seeds below the earth. Why do your greatest gifts and your deepest pains have to live the same place? That's just what we were given. That's how we were planted, so to speak. That's actually the important part, is that in order for you to bring up something to give and to offer and have a relationship with, you've got to know what's down deep inside you. And how do you do that other than grieve? I mean, there's other ways to do that, but within my hour here, I'm just talking about grief and gratitude. But just that the whole point is that there's a relationship. So we could say, let's go as far as saying like, okay, so if I've been traumatized in some way, what happened to me may not hurt you at all. You'd be like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, no, but that was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Why? Because it was personal to me. And again, how do you know what you care about? Other than by like what hurts, what you see in front of, what grieves you. Oh, I care about that. And that's what I started with, is understand that you gotta see what you care about in order to then do something with it. So going back to, I'm gonna like be hopping around here. Back to the monarch, just be you. So what is you? You are a human being that's been offered emotional states to get to know who you are. And if you've got to travel down through grief into your deepest pains, into these things that you care about and are really affecting you, well, look right next to them and go, oh, there's a really good gift that I have through what I care about or whatever. And I want to bring that up. So you've got to go down into the soil. You've got to bring that up, and you've got to polish it off at your heart, and you've got to give it to the world. And that's what a monarch does. A monarch, if you think about the whole chrysalis thing, what is that? The imaginal cells that it breaks it down into the goo and then reborn. I remember as a kid, it's like, what part is the wings? And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It turns to just sacred goo, then rebuilds itself. That lesson right in there, chrysalis up, go into the dark, change, based off of a breakdown. So really, the caterpillar's body gets broken down by those, basically the imaginal cells that say, "Oh, it's time for you to turn into stuff, and then we're going to remold you, rebirth you in that fancy little chrysalis, and then you're going to birth out." And that's what it does. It doesn't question it. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, it's different than a human being, but still, the idea is that we've been given these things around us to remind us, don't forget, you have such beauty, such gifts, such whatever. Go down there, find it, bring it up, and give it to the world. And I can't say that enough. That's how you know what to give to the world, is what hurts you, really. Because there's a relationship between them. And that's found in our myths and our belief systems and all the things. That's what Disney movies are all about. It would be a pretty short Disney movie if it was like, oh, right, they started off walking hand in hand and then they finished walking hand in hand and everything was wonderful and sunny. Okay. No. It's all about losing something or having something harsh happen and finding your way through that. And then how is it that you figure that out? You find that hidden part of you that you never knew you could call upon it. That's what does it. And so then, again, bring in the eagle, soar, put them both out there. Understand that everything that is needed is you're going to be called upon as a human being to utilize. Not all the time, but sometimes you're diving for a fish. Sometimes you're way up there looking for the fish that's in the water, whatever. It's all taken, riding the thermals, moving. It all takes just being with life. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's that's why these cliches exist. It's because they're trying to teach us something. They're trying to say, hey, silly, work with what you got. You're a human being. So I'm going to add in there, quantum science tells us the same thing. Is you really the thing that I see most, and I've been there, is like, oh, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I don't see the results. It's not something that I could see happening. No, quantum science tells you all you got to do is really, once you find your treasure, bring it up. Oh my gosh, there's like an instantaneous, the world changes. Because guess what? We're all related. We're all part of the same thing. And so if you change, then you may not see it, but boom, everything else changes around you. You are that monarch holding monarchness. And so when you change, when something in you changes, whew, everything that comes after you, every smile you give to somebody, every thought that you have, everything you say has an effect. And so that's what I'm after with these metaphors, is that, and I can't say it enough, is what you've got to do is feel your feelings, understand where they come from, find what you care about, bring it out into the world. And that makes the biggest difference in everything, is if you stick with that recipe of working with these things that hurt you and finding ways to really pinpoint what is it you care about, and then understanding that really makes a difference. Yeah, and one of the things I just wanted to add in is something that you said about feeling it, and actually both of these things. I'm gonna like hold this as like small as I can. I have this issue with time. Is people always say, time heals all wounds. That's, to me, like the most disgusting thing to hear or say, because I talked about the seed. if I took that whatever seed, let's just say I got a fancy acorn, right? And I put it on my shelf and let time sit there with it. Will that sprout? Will that grow? Will that become an oak tree? No. Time doesn't, time is not that powerful. Actually, in the shamanic world, time is nothing. In the quantum science world, time is nothing. It's not that powerful. So to take that concept, and I always say, did time build the mountains that are there and weather them down? Did time grow my food? What did time ever really do for me? What I want to do is I want to take that and I want to say, dare I say, time is sometimes things don't match our concept of what we think time is. Maybe it takes you 4 years in that grieving state to then bring a gratitude that is your gift. It doesn't follow, there's no like script. Sometimes human psyches need a lot more time than whatever the prescription is. And maybe time is more of a soul concept. That is like maybe there was a process that had to happen in order to bring this person to a realization, and that could take the rest of their lives. So to think that you've got to, if something really, I mean, you're with all setting aside all the other personal stuff, is you're carrying something right now in your job that really what your job is to hold on to that little bit that you've got. You're not going to like be able to do very much. But if you hold on to that and then being asked to like hold on to it, keep the records, whatever, and then maybe somebody 5, 10 years from now is going to be able to go, oh yeah, let's dust that off. That is what matters. And Gaylord Nelson's one of his famous quotes is the beauty of living is planting a seed and really not being the one to enjoy the shade from that tree that grows from that seed. That is what a really true soulful person can do. And it's like, whoa, yeah, that is to plant that seed and go, it's not me that benefits from that, but I'm the one holding it or planting it or whatever.